right, so we'll see how folks join. All right. We got one person so far. A little early. Thank you. Let me know in the comments how I sound. If you hear me good, if you see the video coming in good, introduce yourself. This would be cool. Doing some house cleaning here real quick. That was cool. All right. So, as always, doing lives are fun, especially when you're just getting going and, you're growing the channel. So, hopefully, we'll get a number of folks that can jump on this live. I know it was kind of spare of the moment, but I did want to get my Sunday lives going, like I said in my end of year summary for 2023. And I do want to do lives with the episode I started with, just having an opportunity to discuss street photography and everything around it with the channel community and anyone else that decides to join that's not part of it. So, with that, today, the first live chat for the year, we're going to discuss a topic I brought up toward the end of last year with what's the best lens for street photography. So, for me, I did want to, give the community an opportunity to jump in and us discuss it. So, I will say for me, and you've been watching the videos, it is a 40 mil lens equivalent. I like that it's close to what our natural eye sees, and I like that with the images I get. And I understand that when you are looking at doing street photography, it really comes down to your personal comfort and how close you want to get to whatever it is in the street you're trying to capture. And for me, I have no issue getting upfront personal with people if that's the street photography aspect I'm going after, genre, if you will, or if I'm just doing general capture, I'll still use the 40 mil like you guys see here on the X Pro 3. This is the 27 mil lens that came out, the version 2, where it has the aperture ring on it and I believe weather sealing. And I have a JJC hood on it to give it that nice little vintage look when I am out shooting. So it adds to the styling of the camera, which of course I like. And I don't have a problem zooming with my feet, getting in close, getting in person with folks. So I really like the 40 mil equivalent. But I know a number of you guys out there like other focal lengths too, depending on, again, what genre of street photography you're going after. Folks like the 35 mil focal length, which for Fuji would be a 23 mil. The 23, or I should say the F2, the Fuji Crons are great. I like the profile that they give on the cameras, not too in your face. And that's one of the things that when I go out and do street photography, I like to have a small profile so that I'm not really catching people off guard. And again, having Fuji and their styling allows that to happen a lot more easier than, as you guys know, I just picked up the Nikon ZF for Christmas with the 40, and here's that. I mean, to me, this reminds me still of a DSLR compared to the X Pro 3 with the 27 mil on it. Both of these lenses and camera kit setups are giving me that 40 mil equivalent, which I like. Full frame 40 mil, and I'll again love the images that I capture with that. So for me, my number one best lens would be the 40 mil. For others, though, again, as I said, they may like the infamous 35 to capture a little bit more of the environment. Maybe they're not getting as close to their subject and don't want to. And at that 35 will definitely give you more of the environment. You can go down to even a 23. I've actually shot with a 23, 24 focal length So for the Fuji, that would be like a 18 mil lens, or a that's like a 27, I should say, and then or a 16 mil lens, which would be a 24 mil equivalent. And I do enjoy the images I have there gotten from that as well, I should say. I have the 16 f2.8, and I will use that from time to time. But when I shoot film, and you see I got my Canon AE program here, it actually has on it the 35 mil lens. So I do like the 35 as well. That would be my second choice on full frame, and shooting at 35 mil so I can get a little bit more of the environment. The 24 is a little wide for me, very wide. And this right here is the 26 f2.8 for the Nikon. I like the profile of this lens, but again, it's one of those where it's a little wide for me. I haven't shot too much with it yet. Getting used to it on this camera, getting used to this camera in general. As far as even how taking the lens off is opposite of that for Fuji. So what you see right here is a 26 mil with the lens cap or hood on it. It's very, it's nice. It brings that profile in. Um, but again, when it comes to the lenses for say, I shoot for the 40 first, then the 35, because I tend to want to capture portrait style photos on the street more than anything else. And again, I go back to that. It comes down to what you're going after and what style of street photography you're into. The next thing you hear a lot of people say is that 50, and a nifty 50 is great. It gets you in a lot tighter than the 40 will for sure, and the 35 and the 24 focal length. Definitely great for portraits on the street, I feel, and that's what I would use the 54. If I know for sure I want to go out there and really get some good portrait images, half body, 3/4 portrait images of a person out while I'm out doing my street photography. So that I would say, if you're looking for that, try starting with the 50 first. But generally, I'm shooting those focal lengths. Now, you guys have heard me say on a video last year, when it comes to getting started and getting comfortable, maybe you don't know which lens focal length is best for you, which you'll like. And that's when I suggest you go out with a standard zoom. This kit lens, which is the infamous Fuji best ever kit lens out there, the 18 to 55 f2.8 to f4. This is a fantastic lens, and how fast it is, even on its long end. And it is fantastic in giving you the ability to go out and discover which focal length you like. Another way you can do that is go and look at your, if you're using Lightroom or any editing software. I use Capture One. You can go in and do a filter on focal lengths, and you can see how many images you've taken at different focal lengths. And that can also help you determine what's the best lens for you to go out and pursue street photography, giving you that idea already of how you like to set yourself up and how far or close you want to be to the subject that you're shooting. So that's another thing. Now, again, most people don't want to challenge themselves. I think you should try them all. Even go out and don't slip on macro lenses. This 30 millimeter f2.8 macro lens that Fuji came out with recently, I love it. I do macro lens use for more than just macro. And this at a 30 mil focal length would give me a 45 mil focal length of full frame. So it's in between that 40 and 50. It's close to my lovable focal 40 focal length, and it does punch in a little more to give you more of a portrait shot close to a 50. And I really like that a lot. I like that I can then take this and go from shooting portraits to getting detail shots and so forth from this macro. And it's really versatile, actually very versatile as a street photography lens. I didn't think it was going to be as versatile for me as it was until I took it out to Easter Market in Detroit and shot some images, and was just blown away. Not only just being able to capture good images of people and it not be too detailed as a macro lens, you can being able to soften that up in post, but have all the detail I want up to what this lens can capture. but then also being able to turn around and get the detail I want from the lens when taking images of other things on the street, signs, crafts, buildings, things that I want the texture to pop with. Um, this actually is the second lens in my camera bag when I'm shooting with the 27 mil f2.8. So don't sleep on the macro, believe it or not. And if you can get a macro, something like this that's got a small profile and give you a lot of versatility in it more than just the focal length, then it's just fantastic. The characteristics of the macro blew me away, and as I drop it, highly suggest it. And I guess it's a good thing that Fuji makes their lenses tough and that this did hit carpet. But as I've said in my videos, guys, I'm clumsy. So I highly suggest that you make sure if you're like me and clumsy, you you insure your gear. So there we go. But as we continue this series, I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to join into the discussion. And feel free, if you're live with me today, right now, or you see this video once I post it to the channel, to put in the comments what your favorite focal length is and why. Let's bring that to the discussion in the comments as well. And even in the chat, if folks are in the chat, tell me what you believe to be the best lens and why for you when you're out doing street photography. Again, you just heard me ramble through mine. So I see some folks in the chat. If you want to introduce yourself, let me know where you're coming in from. That'd be great. Wanted to do a quick chat before we get into some NFL games here in the States. It starts in about an hour, or right now, what is it, 3:40? Starts at 4:30, so roughly about 40 minutes. So all right, with that, we'll keep going. So now, most people, again, when it comes to choosing the right lens for you, I say again, if you don't know, grab you a standard zoom of some sort and go out with that. Because when it comes to street photography, you're not going to hide the fact that you're taking pictures. People are going to see you. They're going to see your camera. Even with the profile that this X Pro 3 has, people still see me with the camera, whether I'm shooting from the hip or bring it up to my eye, right? They're just more in tune to target on something different like this than, say, this. A lot of folks have become so blind, if you will, to a smartphone that these actually can become great cameras to use for street photography. A lot of them, like this, this is iPhone 14 Pro, has wonderful cameras on it from wide to a standard to a tele now. And so it also can be used to help you determine what you feel would be a good focal length for you for a lens when you're going out and doing street photography. So I don't tell people not to use a specific lens or a specific camera. I tell you to go out and discover, see what's best for you, see what works for you. Get those images, as you guys heard me say on my video. Get out and shoot, and enjoy the gear that we have, and capture those moments. So um, I'm trying to think of what else that I can bring to this discussion that you guys would like or would be able to go back with and play with yourselves and see what's best for you. Um 85. Let's see. So I'm a proponent of, again, using the gear you have and going out and capturing some images, creating your art. And I will say, even for me, there are focal lengths that I probably would not go out with on the street, and that would not be a good choice for me to shoot with on the street. And anything past 50 mil for me might be too long. Um, I know that when it comes to Fuji and, say, this zoom that I'm holding up, which is a kit lens, this goes to 55 mil, which is around an 80 millimeter portrait lens. And because of its profile, it makes it easy for me to put this on the camera. And I'll put this on the X Pro 3 right now so you can see what I mean. And again, this is one of the reasons why I do love shooting with Fuji, because of the cameras and their profiles being APS-C size sensor can be smaller, and you get that same flavor with other APS-C cameras like Sony has. like Nikon has. But I like the style and the Fuji and the colors. But look at how this looks. Look at this profile right here. That isn't too bad. But and this will get me up to about an 85. So this is like a similar to a 24 to 70 that you'll find on a most standard zooms for full frame, and it will allow me again to play with stuff. But what I'll say is I find that I don't use the long end that much because it just punches in too much. Again, I don't have an issue getting close to my subjects to take images, so I don't tend to be, say, across the street or down the block taking pictures of people further away, if it's people, or of the subject further away, whatever that subject may be. It may help others though. Again, it all comes down to your comfort level. An 85, a 100 millimeter. If you're in the Nikon, the 105 macro. Again, macros have great ability in giving you detail for not just only portraits, but for other things. It could be a great street photography lens. But you got that along with the, I don't even know if I'd go as far as a 135, but like for Fuji, you got the 90 mil, which is an excellent portrait lens. I don't know if I would go that far to using those as a street photography lens because they punch out so far that all my subjects I'm shooting would have to be across the street and down the block. And that's just not my style of street photography shooting. Getting in tight, getting closer to my subject is what I like. Can you use them? Yes. Are they the best? Not for most people. But I don't let that stop you from going out and having some fun and playing with them. I've actually taken my 90 out for street photography as a backup lens when I had the 50 mil, which is a 33 mil or at 35 mil, excuse me, lens 1.4, which is a very small profile compared to other camera brands when it comes to Fuji. And so it did great. But as soon as I put that thing on the camera, all eyes was on me. Bam. And I didn't want that much of attention, specifically since I had a big lens on, but people start to think, what are you doing so far? So that does also come into play when we're looking at a lens that we want to choose for street photography is how much attention do you want to draw to yourself? Do you care? Do you want to make sure the attention is not the wrong type of attention? Because believe me, I don't want to be dubbed as the person with the camera, or in that guy with the camera, right? I want people to feel comfortable with me shooting and know that, I'm not just out there taking pictures of people for nefarious reasons. So, and one little tidbit of advice I do give individuals, especially, and I know it's a little double-sided, if you will, if that's the right phrase I'm using. Men taking street photography, it does not hurt. It helps to have a business card. We'll have to discuss that. You guys let me know in the comments if you want to discuss safety while taking images as our next topic for our live for next month. There are things that I think men and women both need to do when doing street photography to make themselves safe. And for men, there is a reason why I carry business cards, not just so I can give people to my channel or to my Instagram and socials, but also for my own personal safety, legitimacy, if you will. I'm not a creep with a camera. So we can let me know if you guys want to discuss that on next month live chat or live talk, I should say, on street photography. So yeah, that's my favorite. Any questions from anybody? Again, just throw them in the comments. Well, we're getting some stuff in. Hey Jay, how are you, sir? From Indianapolis. Nice to meet you. I actually have some friends in Indianapolis. Traveled through Indianapolis a couple of times, and it's a pretty interesting state. I actually plan on trying to see if the wife and I we like to do what do you call them, 4-hour round trips if we can, to hit places and do some photography as well. So it is, just to let you guys know, it's nice when your spouse is doing street photography. Gives you you don't have to hide your lenses so much or your gear. But yeah, Indianapolis, really nice. Been there a few times for work too. What we got here? The right lens often depends on how crowded the street. In a crowded urban or European, excuse me, street, you may want a 28, while in a bigger area with less people, use a 50. Absolutely correct. So I actually changed my setup from when I say I go to Eastern Market in Detroit, which is very crowded. You will bump into people while you're walking. I will put on the 16 f2, which is a 24 mil, and that's what I'm shooting with, because you're absolutely right, Jay. It gives you the opportunity to capture more of the surrounding closer to you, and it's just wonderful to be able to get the images you want to get when you're in that tight environment. And then when I go to something like a just walking around Detroit or Ann Arbor or some of the smaller cities I'm in, where I know that because of my going out and doing my scouting and shooting there in the past, that it's not going to be a lot of people on the street. There may be more of an opportunity. They'll be a little further away from me than closer to me. That's why I love the 40 mil and the 50 mil, because it'll punch in and let me get those images from those, if I'm shooting people, from those distances that I wouldn't worry about in Eastern Market. So you spot on, sir. Right. And then Jay, you also have here, if I'm going to focus on buildings and geometric subjects, I love a mid-range zoom. Absolutely. And that's why, I tell people so I do a street photography class about once a year. And what I actually say in that street photography class, get students going, is we're going to start with a zoom, a standard zoom, so they don't have to worry about the lenses they need to choose from. I just want them getting used to capturing the moment. And we can look at the metadata later to see what focal length they shot the most, to start honing them in to what prime lens they may want to shoot with, if they just want to go out with the prime. And it helps when you can go to that far end of that standard zoom. And like one of my favorite photos last year was capturing a mural in Eastern Market. It has a bull up there, and the bull is made out of different vegetables, and it's on a nice, pastel yellow background with Eastern Market on it, and it's awesome. Well, using the 24 mil is not going to get that, but being able to punch in to an 85 or 80 or 90 with a standard zoom, or 70, or as we have, and I'm using right now on the XH2S. I have the power zoom on here. This thing goes from 18 to 120. It's not that long, and it will let me punch out to 120 meters on the Fuji camera. And that's just fantastic for capturing buildings that are far away, kind of getting a good cityscape type of setup. So thank you, Jay. Thank you for putting that out there. Absolutely spot on. I appreciate it. So that brings me to a little Fuji talk here. As you guys, Mr. T Mid, how are you, sir? I want to say thank you. And you know what? I want to stop real quick. I want to give a special thanks to T Mid. T Mid last year gave me a lot of inspiration to keep pushing on with the channel, and because of him, I'm happy to say he's been an integral part of, I think, how the channel's grown in getting me to get the content out to you guys. So thank you, Mr. T Mid, for that. And he says, I've been enjoying this Volt. Oh, you know what? The Viltrox 27, I will admit, I'm tempted. I'm tempted. I've seen so many good reviews on it. I've seen your video, T Mid, as well. And you know what? I'm close. I'm close. But you know what it is for me? That Viltrox is as big as this 18 to 55 sitting on this camera. I think that's my problem for just the prime. But I can't talk about it too much, because the 18 1.4, that is phenomenal for the Fuji line. If you guys haven't checked that out, check it out. It gives you a 27 mil equivalent. It also is pretty big. So I know the Viltrox is what, I think that's what, a 1.4 or something like that, or 1.2. So I understand why it's that big, but I hear a lot of things about Viltrox thanks T-Mid 1.2. It's going to give you a lot of light. The images are great. Viltrox, excuse me, has brought their game up to the point where I even had a chance to shoot with the 75 on the Nikon ZF. And even though it's for their APS-C size sensor, it punched out even further, of course, in the full frame, and it was awesome. I mean, hands down for Viltrox and how they're bringing up their game. So thank you, T Mid, for get challenging me not to let the gas get to me. We'll see how that goes over the next couple of months, but yeah, I got to give it to Viltrox. 27 is a good focal length as well. I think that you can do a lot with that. It puts you in that range of that 24, and it gives you a lot of the environment. And if you want to go into a scenario where you're shooting at night with a 1.2, you're going to capture some great images at night as well. Play around with your shutter speeds to slow up the subject, get some blur, or speed, let the subject zoom by while you capture that blur, taking images of maybe neon lights in front of you. Shooting at night can be a lot of fun with some of these lenses, especially when you got fast lenses, and then you can start playing with the shutter and getting your starlights and all that great stuff from going to f22 and just having some fun, mostly with motion, light blur, and so forth. So, and then what we got here, Viltrox is making a name with it. Yeah, the Pro line is fantastic. I was blown away. I actually got a little nervous, to be honest with you, for Fuji. I hope Fuji is looking at what Viltrox is doing with their line of Pro Series lenses. It's I just want to see that with a lot of the remakes for the Fuji's. Fuji's lenses definitely are there. I love them. I love them a lot. But there are a couple of ones I have over here that are first versions that have been first versions for a while. I need a nice update. And then to see Viltrox come out with these great lenses at these great prices, phenomenal. I hope Nikon is listening. So T Mid's a Nikon guy. He shoots all brands, but he's a Nikon guy. And I don't know if you have. I assume you're shooting this on your Nikon gear, T-Mid, but I hope Nikon's listening too. They're producing some really good lenses for a number of the brands, Sony as well, Canon. We'll see how long Canon holds on to that lockout, but very nice. So yeah, we're not gonna put me in that camp, T-Mid. Well, not yet. I got one lens, and yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I'm not gonna go 100% and say I'm there for Viltrox. They are stiff competition, though. I can say right now for Fuji. Actually, not just for Fuji, for all of the camera brands they make lenses for. I think they're all on notice. Um, if it was one of those things where I say I would have to do a collab, I would absolutely would love to get some Viltrox lenses in and play with them against my Fuji stuff for sure. Kind of like what you've done, T Mid. And I don't know if Jay, I don't know if you've shot any Viltrox stuff yet, but check it out. I mean, I know I'm a big Fuji person. A lot of folks that's on my channel are Fuji people as well. A lot of people in Italy watch the channel too, which I was surprised at, and asked for a lot of comments on the gear. So that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to the gear and picking the lens. You guys know I shoot medium format. I shoot medium format digital, and I shoot medium format film. And honestly, I think it comes down to with the film, you're kind of stuck. The focal lengths are kind of wonky. Mostly I shoot a 60 mil lens on my full frame. Excuse me, I'm chomping it up. My medium format cameras film, I will shoot a 60 mil. It is roughly a 40 mil equivalent. So you guys see the theme there. I'm a big proponent of 40 mil equivalent for street. On my digital, I shoot Fuji medium format. So I have GFX line, as you guys know. For the 50R and the GFX2, if I was to take that out on street, and I'm shooting street photography, I'm using the 50 mil lens that Fuji has. I'm not aware that Fuji has a 60 mil. So you either are shooting a 45, you're shooting a 50 mil 3.5 f3.5 aperture, or you're going wider. And I find that the 50 mil is fantastic with the detail you get from either the 50 or the 100 mil megapixel, excuse me, 100 mega or 50 meg cameras, you're going to get a lot of detail and do a lot with that 50 mil lens. Um, I don't know, in my experience, if I would shoot anything bigger, um, as far as focal lengths on that. I don't see myself taking an 80 mil lens out or the 110 out to do street photography, because now I got, in essence, a really big camera set up in my hand that is going to draw some serious attention. People are going to want to know what I'm doing. The bigger that lens is, the more people are nervous about what you're doing, which again I find amazing, because as we all know, you can bring out this bad boy and nobody thinks twice about it. And this is just not a phone, as I tell my boys. Not a phone. This is a computer. I can take images with this thing, pop it on social media. I can take a live of me taking this live on this and send it out to the world. So this is far more intimidating and worrisome than our cameras. But anyway, that's what I would do when it comes to my medium format. As you guys have seen, I'm going to put my 50 mil on my GFX line and go out and shoot, because anything bigger than that is going to cause some negative attention, unfortunately. So Jay says, I have the Viltrox 85 one. Nice. It is good. I think I have a bias toward Japanese company. No problem, man. We're not going to judge you on your gas. Get what you need to get. And again, it's Chinese just because such aggressive. I understand that. My wife, she's done a lot of traveling in her early years of being married, and she saw that. She traveled to China a lot, Asia and Europe a lot. And you're absolutely right. But I think it comes down to quality. Viltrox quality is really good, especially on the Pro line. I'm really impressed, and they came out of nowhere. So yeah, the 80. I saw that T-Mid. I saw that you used the 80 on the 100, and I know you enjoyed it, but it is huge though, man. And you were with a group of people. So as you guys see, I follow T-Mid's channel, which is a great channel. He does a lot of portrait work using lights and strobes, and I've taken some of that advice myself and use it in studio and on location. But it's a big lens. It's a big lens. It's a big camera setup. Unfortunately, my 110 I don't have anymore. I would grab the 50R right now and put the 110 on it and show you guys, but I don't have it anymore. They went in on a trade-in for gear for that 102. But I know it'll get some great images because of one, it's fast, right? I think it's a 1.7 on the 80. And so again, it gives you opportunity for a bigger format digital sensor to even do night photography and get some great images, low light photography and get some great images. But that's me. I don't go above a 60 mil equivalent, and I don't go below 45 on when I'm doing street photography with my digital and film medium format, only because after that the setup just gets too big. Not only is it draw eyes, but it gets heavy, and I'm out usually for 2 to 4 hours doing street photography at times, and I just don't want to carry all of that around. So what else you guys got? We got a little bit of time here before that football game starts up. So what else you guys got? I know it's a few of us on. And again, thank you for those that joined. This is my first live of the year, and really just getting the lives going, having fun with you guys in the community. I want to continue to thank you guys for the comments in the videos. Let me know what you're thinking. The comments grow the channel, guys. So keep them coming, negative or positive. As I consider it, it's all constructive, whether it's negative or positive. I don't think of it that way. But I definitely want, for those who don't feel that things didn't work the way they want on the video and want to put the energy in to say so, tell me exactly why. Throw those details in there so I can see what you're talking about. We can discuss it and grow, right? I mean, I've learned some things last year from the comments I've gotten, as well as from also looking at other people's channels. So I want to say I definitely appreciate Jay and T-Mid for jumping on and throwing out some stuff in the comments. So anything else?